It's a rainy evening, and we're inside a fancy, busy restaurant. The tables are full of well-dressed people enjoying their meals. The room is warm and lively, with soft music playing. Everything feels perfect. Suddenly, the sound of a bell rings as the front door opens. Everyone looks up. An older black woman steps inside. She's holding an umbrella, her coat slightly damp from the rain. Her clothes are simple, but she carries herself with grace and confidence. This is Miss Evelyn. Miss Evelyn is in her late 60s. She has a kind face, but there's a strong and determined look in her eyes. You can tell she's been through a lot in life, but she's still standing tall. Now, meet Brad. He's one of the waiters here. Brad is young and full of himself. He judges people by how they look and doesn't treat everyone equally. The restaurant is owned by Mr. Green. He's fair and firm. Someone who believes in doing the right thing. And then there's Lila. She's a new waitress, quiet but kind. She notices everything, even when others don't. This is where our story begins. What went on in those few minutes? Tell us in the comments where you're watching from. If you like stories about fairness and big surprises, click subscribe for more. As Miss Evelyn steps inside, she looks around the restaurant, taking in the elegant surroundings. She approaches the host's stand with a warm smile and speaks softly. "Good evening. I have a reservation for one under the name Evelyn Carter," she says politely. But Brad, the waiter at the stand, barely looks up. He glances at her from head to toe, his expression turning into a smirk. "This isn't the place for people like you," Brad says, his tone cold and dismissive. Ms. Evelyn pauses for a moment but remains calm. "I believe you're mistaken. I made a reservation," she says, her voice steady. Brad crosses his arms, leaning against the podium. "Sorry, we're fully booked tonight," he says with fake concern. The room starts to feel heavy as nearby customers notice the exchange. A few turn their heads, whispering to each other, but Ms. Evelyn doesn't raise her voice. Instead, she stands tall, her calmness making the tension even more obvious. "Please check again," she says firmly, but Brad shakes his head, his dismissive smirk growing wider. What happens next will leave everyone stunned. Ms. Evelyn looks Brad straight in the eyes and says, "I'd like to speak to the owner, please." But Brad just chuckles and shakes his head. "The owner doesn't have time for this," he says, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "You're wasting everyone's evening." Miss Evelyn doesn't budge. "Then I'll wait," she replies, her tone steady but unyielding. Nearby, Lila, a younger waitress, has been quietly watching the scene. She can see the growing unease in the room and feels something isn't right. She leans toward Ms. Evelyn and whispers, "I'll get him," before slipping away, careful not to attract Brad's attention. But Brad doesn't stop. He smirks and starts speaking louder, his words meant to humiliate. "Why would someone like you even come here? Do you know how much this place costs? Maybe try the diner down the street," he says with a mocking laugh. Other patrons begin to notice the exchange. A couple sitting nearby pulls out their phone, recording the interaction as whispers ripple through the restaurant. Brad seems to enjoy the attention, his smirk growing wider. But Ms. Evelyn stands her ground, her calm presence speaking louder than any words. The tension in the room is almost unbearable, and everyone is waiting to see what will happen next. Ms. Evelyn looks at Brad, her voice calm but firm. "Young man," she says, "respect costs nothing, yet it speaks volumes." Brad leans on the stand, smirking as if he's already won. He chuckles and replies with a mocking tone, "And money talks, ma'am." "Do you even have a reservation?" The room starts to quiet down as people notice the conversation. Nearby diners look over, some whispering to each other, while others pretend not to watch but clearly listen. Miss Evelyn doesn't back down. She stands tall and says, "Yes, I do. Check under the name Evelyn Carter." Her voice is calm, but there's strength in her words. Brad snaps the book shut and shrugs. "Sorry, nothing under that name," he says with a smug grin. "Like I said, we're full tonight." His tone is dismissive, as if he doesn't care at all. Miss Evelyn stays calm, not letting his attitude bother her. She takes a small breath and says, "I suggest you check again." Her voice is steady and firm, but not angry. Brad smirks even more and leans against the stand. He looks her up and down. clearly trying to make her feel small. "Look, lady," he says with a laugh. "I know your type. You can't just walk in here and—" Before he can finish, Lila, a young waitress, steps forward. She's been watching from the side, her face worried. She leans close to Ms. Evelyn and whispers softly, "I'll get him." Then she quickly walks to the back of the restaurant. Back at the host's stand, Brad continues to act as if nothing's wrong. He doesn't notice how many people are now watching. Some are even recording. The room feels tense, like something big is about to happen. Ms. Evelyn stands quietly, still calm, while Brad keeps smirking, completely unaware of what's coming next. The restaurant is busy, but the usual chatter is replaced with a quiet tension. All eyes are on the host's stand, where Brad's rude behavior toward Ms. Evelyn is drawing attention. She remains calm and composed, her silence making his arrogance even more obvious. Brad smirks, clearly enjoying the attention, and repeats, louder this time, "I told you, ma'am. We're full tonight. No need to make a scene. Maybe you'd feel more comfortable somewhere else." Ms. Evelyn doesn't respond, but her steady presence seems to unsettle Brad. As he continues to raise his voice, murmurs start to spread among the other patrons. Some turn to watch, while others discreetly pull out their phones, recording the scene unfolding before them. At that moment, Lila walks in from the back, her face filled with worry. Behind her is Mr. Green, the owner of the restaurant. He's dressed sharply and walks with authority, but he says nothing right away. Instead, he stops a few feet from the host's stand, watching quietly, letting Brad continue. Still unaware of who is behind him, Brad keeps going, his tone growing more mocking. "Look, I'm just doing you a favor, ma'am. This place isn't exactly in your price range, if you know what I mean." The whispers among the diners grow louder as the truth begins to sink in. People exchange looks, lean in to get a better view, and one person quietly starts recording. Ms. Evelyn stands tall, her posture straight and dignified. She doesn't argue or raise her voice. Her calmness only highlights Brad's growing rudeness. Finally, Mr. Green steps forward, his voice cutting through the tension. "Brad," he says firmly. Brad freezes mid-sentence. His confident expression falters as he slowly turns and realizes who has been watching. "Oh, Mr. Green," he stammers, his earlier bravado disappearing. "I was just handling this situation." Mr. Green doesn't respond to Brad. Instead, he turns to Ms. Evelyn, his voice respectful. "Ms. Carter," he says calmly, "would you mind joining me in my office? I believe we need to talk." The room goes silent. The whispers stop, replaced by confusion and curiosity. No one fully understands what's happening, but everyone senses a shift in power. Miss Evelyn nods, her voice steady and composed. "Of course," she replies. She follows Mr. Green toward the back of the restaurant, her confidence never wavering. The camera stays on Brad, who is left standing there, his face a mix of confusion and fear. The tension in the room builds, and the whispers start again. "Did you hear that?" one person asks. "He called her Ms. Carter. Who is she?" Another diner whispers, "I don't know, but she seems important." As Miss Evelyn and Mr. Green walk toward the back, the room watches, unsure of what will happen next. The air is thick with tension, and Brad is left to face the consequences of his actions. The scene shifts to Mr. Green's office. It's quiet, with soft lighting and simple decor. Miss Evelyn enters first, followed by Mr. Green, who gently shuts the door behind them. They stand for a moment, and Mr. Green looks at Miss Evelyn, waiting for her to speak. He gestures toward a chair, but she stays standing, calm and confident. After a short silence, Mr. Green asks, "Ms. Carter, I didn't know you were the one who bought the restaurant. Why did you come here today to see how the staff treats customers?" Ms. Evelyn smiles softly and looks at him. "I made the reservation days ago. It was part of my plan. I wanted to see how your staff treated all customers, especially those they didn't expect." Mr. Green's face changes as he starts to understand. "So, this whole thing was a test?" Ms. Evelyn nods. "Yes, exactly. It's not just about having good food or a nice place. How your staff treats every person shows what kind of place this really is." She waits for a moment, letting her words sink in. Then she adds, I didn't say who I was before because respect shouldn't be given only to those with power. It should be given to everyone. Mr. Green listens carefully and then slowly nods. I see now. This was a lesson for Brad and for everyone in this restaurant. The room grows quiet. Ms. Evelyn's calm presence fills the space, and her words leave a lasting impression. She speaks again, her voice gentle but firm. Sometimes, you have to show people how to treat others the right way. Mr. Green's tone softens, now full of respect. You're right. I think we have some lessons to learn here, starting with Brad. Ms. Evelyn stands tall, her strength clear. She is not just a guest, she is the new owner, and she's bringing real change to the restaurant. Brad is called into the office, his steps quick and unsure. When he sees Ms. Evelyn standing there, his face goes pale. He quickly realizes who she is. The woman he had been rude to earlier is the new owner. He starts to panic, his voice shaky as he stammers, "I didn't know it was you, ma'am. I'm sorry. Please, don't fire me." Ms. Evelyn looks at him calmly, but her voice is firm. "Brad, you were rude to a customer, and that's unacceptable. You need to treat everyone with respect, no matter who they are." Brad nods quickly, his eyes wide. "I understand. It won't happen again." Miss Evelyn doesn't immediately speak. The room is quiet as she considers what to do next. After a moment, she finally says, "I'm not going to fire you today, Brad. Everyone deserves a chance to grow, but only if they're willing to change." Brad breathes a sigh of relief, but he knows this is his last chance. He nods quickly. "Thank you, ma'am. I won't let you down." Ms. Evelyn turns to Lila, who has been standing quietly by the door, watching everything unfold. "Lila," Ms. Evelyn says, her voice warm, "you showed kindness today. I saw how you stepped in to help. For that, you're being promoted to a managerial role. You deserve it." Lila's eyes widen in surprise, and she smiles softly. "Thank you, Ms. Carter. I won't let you down." Ms. Evelyn nods, pleased. "I believe in giving people opportunities. Now, let's make this place better for everyone." The room is filled with a sense of change. Brad knows he has a lot of work to do, and Lila is ready for her new role. The atmosphere has shifted, and it's clear that things are going to be different from now on. Ms. Evelyn walks through her new restaurant, taking in the sights and sounds of the place she now owns. She greets the staff with a warm smile, talking to each one and making sure they feel appreciated. As she moves through the dining area, she speaks kindly to the customers, ensuring that everyone feels welcome. She makes a promise to herself to create an environment where everyone, no matter who they are, is treated with respect and kindness. She meets with the staff to discuss new policies, ones that will help build a more inclusive and welcoming atmosphere. Everyone listens carefully, knowing that this change will make the restaurant a better place for both staff and guests. Later, Ms. Evelyn sits at a table, enjoying a meal. The restaurant feels calm and peaceful, a place where respect and kindness are at the heart of everything. She looks around, content with the new direction she is leading her restaurant towards. Kindness and fairness aren't weaknesses. They are the true foundations of strength. It's easy to judge others by their appearance, by what they look like on the outside, but we often forget that the real value of a person lies beneath the surface. Sometimes, the person we think we can look down on is the one who holds our fate in their hands. In a world where it's so easy to rush to conclusions, we must remember that treating others with respect is what truly makes us strong. Evelyn's journey wasn't just about teaching the staff a lesson in respect. It was about reminding us all that we are all connected, no matter our appearance or background. That true power doesn't come from status or wealth, but from how we treat others, how we lift them up with kindness instead of tearing them down with judgment. What would you have done if you were in Ms. Evelyn's shoes? Would you have stood up for what was right, even when it wasn't easy? Would you have chosen the path of kindness, even when faced with disrespect? Let us know in the comments what you would have done in Ms. Evelyn's place. We want to hear your thoughts on this story and how it might have inspired you. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories about justice, redemption, and the power of doing what's right. Thank you for watching, and remember, small acts of kindness can create big changes. Stay strong, Stay kind, and always stand up for what's right.